working on the content itself. Our research platform started with databases behind it, which had some limitations as far as structure, which you paid and you had to change that structure. We moved into Lucene and Solr, which gave a much greater flexibility. And it did allow us to act more fully on the content, but it meant we had to take the content all apart to put it in the index, so we put it all back together to bring it out. And it's a different feel when you're acting directly on the content. We do some of like Congressional Quarterly does, wanting to operate on multiple levels. Also wanting to operate between documents with types of linkage, which again in the research arena is important. And then the vocabulary-based navigation.
Well, and there were a couple of examples actually that were focusing primarily on not being search. Actually, it's part of. There were a couple of people that heard me say this before. And we focus, or our focus actually right now is not about the document, it's what the specific elements within the document are, because those are the elements that for a particular user. And some of the implementations actually are not necessarily search related. Well, they might be search behind the scenes, but the user is looking for the piece of information and the next step from their perspective. The user is not. When they come to the site, they are not coming with the goal to do a search. There is something else. Is there either doing research for a member of Congress, or doing research for a particular committee, research for a particular actual legislation, or for regulations introduced by an agency. There is something else behind. Search is one element that brings actually all pieces of information together. But search by no means is actually the solution. And coming back to the slides that I showed, actually, those are not search. Those are basically assembly of different elements within actually a disparate set of documents.
So I want to give everybody a chance, which is not that much time, but are there any questions from folks out there? Got one right there. I guess you're going to have to be loud.
Dave Schiebel from IDC. We're seeing in our research a couple of different things, and I think this is a uniquely qualified group to comment on that. So we're seeing a trend in something called unified information access. And based on that, something called info apps, or the role-based applications that are being developed on top of those. So I'd like to, ask, the group, if you're seeing any of that type of thing where you're beginning to think about developing role-based applications for, your specific user communities. And then the second question is, we're also seeing research that tells us that data as a service is becoming a very hot topic. Basically, people, pulling together different subsets of data and then reselling that information in different ways, aggregated in different ways. And what are you seeing the same thing? And what are you doing to basically encourage that level of business?
I'll let you have it.
I can. In both directions. For the first one, actually, the role-based apps or interfaces. Yes, actually, what we do is actually we do we have specific sets of or types of users actually that we focus on building or making any changes to actually to our websites. It's not just actually sitting in front of our web properties. We have some degree of hybrid approach. My personal opinion in terms of apps, actually, I don't necessarily like apps, even though they are nice and neat to have. Part of it is from the parochial perspective, I want to have potentially actually HTML5-based implementation that serves both the desktop and iPad and an iPhone, and try to make sure that from both the user experience as well as from my own parochial maintenance perspective, I don't have to deal with too many actually options out there. In terms of the role-based systems, yes and no. We've had actually some products, and it depends on what the successful level it can have. There are some products that we call verticals that are focusing on a particular type, or whether it is an industry or type of user. But it depends on how successful it's going to be. At the end of the day, it's all about money. Otherwise, they come back into, we still do need to fit everyone into the main actually set of web services or websites that we have. But sometimes if it is very successful, yeah, I'm willing to do that. benefits and drawbacks. At the end of the day, I think actually money can, whatever I can save, money is going to change the game. Coming back to the data services, we do that. Again, it's a line of business that actually, as far as I know, actually makes a big chunk of change. The thing that I consider when we talk about MarketLogic and the users, MarketLogic and search and what we provide to the users, that's why I emphasize it's not about the documents, it's not about actually the particular content, it's what we present to the user. I mean, a particular person is not coming to see the bill text of HR 123. Well, a couple people may be. A couple people might be. But generally, they're trying to do a specific task that either they took on themselves or they were assigned to do at a specific time frame. Data services can allow someone else to do that. There might be areas of industry that actually we're not interested to service. But it's beyond that. When we serve, is that a primary area of focus? Not necessarily.
So I think in some ways you're already a consumer. And the information, you mentioned in the beginning, you sell, Congress has a subscription, presumably it's
They are the biggest customers.
The biggest customers individually, and all the data you use, all the data you use is coming from data.gov essentially.
Yeah, it's maybe 1/3 is coming from Congress itself.
So Amy, I mean, how about the data side of things? As you talked about emerging new business, is the future look bright?
Yeah, I think we certainly hope so. We're looking for, as the news industry goes through its challenges, we're looking for new opportunities. So I think we're hoping that this is a growing business for us. And you know, some of the customers for our archive content today are creating those kinds of apps where they're integrating news into a business intelligence application or something like that, so that a salesperson or whatever the function is has, you know, access to that information in the context of whatever their work is. So we're not building those apps and workflows that you guys are doing, but we're providing content that is fed into those things.
And in some degree, actually, Amy might have us as a customer for the data services, but we'd be basically integrating other stuff.
Right.
So Beverly, you're starting to stream therapy sessions, which I think is fascinating. But is that getting into this very specific usage? Somebody, you know, that's very targeted.
Yes, and after getting 350 together, some folks decided we actually needed to subset those into specialty areas. A university might want them all to practice, but specialize in a certain way.
So getting targeted. Yeah, I think we're going to wind down a little bit, but I think it's part of that trend we started off with. You know, the more data you have available, the more precisely you need to present it. So I'm going to just start with an easy one. I was at Fieldbane yesterday, and there was a lot of search research, data presented. Besides the sort of metaphysical question around what is search, which was an interesting area. Once you just ask the question, there was a lot of dissatisfaction. 28% of people were satisfied with their search experience. So this was enterprise search and also some public website search. So we're talking here about big data search. You guys have been running this for a while on your product. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Is this going better, or how are we doing on improving people's perception of what search is with this new approach?
I think it is better. I think sometimes actually we do focus on certain issues of pieces behind. It's a heck of a lot easier to get there now than, let's say, 5 years ago. And I think it's on the right track. People, in terms of people being happy about the search, that might be, my opinion is that there's something else underlying.
You're just going to get that anyway.
Exactly. Well, no, it's they are expecting search to resolve something else. That's why we come back to.
Yeah, well, you know, we have a great question around it. Is you know, what is the best relevant search result? And it's the one no one else is. Carol, what do you have a comment? Are you getting fewer complaints? Maybe that's the way to ask the question.
Yeah, that one would be hard, but I think my simple example would be one word that my boss said after we had deployed the MarketLogic search when he went in to use it, snappy.
Yeah, the last word.
Well, I would say we just weren't able to even do some of these searches before when you're talking about that volume of content. So it's certainly a huge
part of a good start. Well, I want to thank our panelists, and thank you.